No, actually, Matt, whatever happens, Mrs May will probably remain in place for the very short term, possibly the medium term as well, because there's a whole process if Mrs May were to resign in the next 48 hours of what would need to take place before we have another leader of the Conservative Party and de facto Prime Minister of the United Kingdom as well. Yesterday was a very tough day for Mrs May, and we'll go through the chronology of what could happen next in a little while. But yesterday, very tough day for Mrs May. It was very clear early on in the day during Prime Minister's question times and then following on with her speech about how she sees Brexit going forward and her vision for the withdrawal agreement bill, which she hoped to present to the House on the 7th of June as well. It was very clear early on that there was dissent when actually many of her senior members weren't even there at the start of the Prime Minister's question time, including key players such as Dr. Liam Fox and Andrea Leadsom. Now, the latter, of course, was a former contender for the leadership of the Conservative Party and hence Prime Ministership back in 2016, and she lost to Theresa May. She has become a key cabinet minister and was leader of the House until her resignation yesterday. Let's hear why Andrea Leadsom felt she had to resign.
I have been supporting Brexit totally for the last 3 years, and I just couldn't, as leader of the Commons with responsibility for the legislation, stand up at business questions tomorrow and announce a bill that I just think has elements I cannot support that aren't Brexit.
It became very clear that it wasn't just Mrs Leadsom who had problems with the Prime Minister. Apparently, several ministers tried to speak to her during the afternoon, and Mrs May just would not speak to them, including David Mundell, the Scottish Secretary, Sajid Javid, the Home Secretary, and the Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, as well. At the same time, of course, backbenchers were also meeting, and there was a lot of speculation that they would bring about rule changes, which meant a leadership challenge to Mrs May could happen. They were last challenging Mrs May for leadership back in December, which meant when she won that vote that it couldn't be another 12 months until she was challenged again. But they were looking for potential changes so that Mrs May could be challenged. We don't know the result of that. There is an understanding that the votes for those rule changes were put in sealed envelopes and will only be opened after a meeting between Mrs May and Sir Graham Brady, the chair of the 1922 committee, meets tomorrow. And if that meeting isn't satisfactory for backbenchers, then apparently those votes will be open and potentially rule changes to oust Mrs May could well be brought in. Matt.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.